All right, and we are back with you this Friday. It's Friday, and we're celebrating Indian Arrival Day here in Trinidad and Tobago. It is commemorated on Monday, the 31st of May this year. But of course, because it's a holiday, we're doing our part here on the Now Morning Show on TTT from today. So hope you appreciate that. And joining us via Zoom this morning is Dr. Primnath Gupta, who is the National Council for Indian Culture Heritage Center Vice Chairman, and he's just here to talk to us about how they're going to be able to celebrate this year, if at all. Good morning to you, Dr. Gupta.
Hi, good morning, Natalie, and uh, good morning to our viewers.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, it's a pleasure having you here with us because today we're celebrating all things Indian. But you know, one thing I have to share with you, Dr. Gupta, do you know that our prized mango in Jamaica is known as the East Indian mango?
Well, did you know that, and the fact that you know that the mango was brought to the West Indies, to Trinidad and the West Indies, by the early indented Indian immigrants who came from India? You know, the thing is, we love our mango, we suck the mango, but I don't think anybody, very few people ever really consider the fact that things like the mango and many other plants that we have in Trinidad actually came with from India. So, you know, coming to the West Indies, they gave so much variety to the Caribbean, to Trinidad and other countries in the Caribbean in terms of the plants, in terms of the culture, the songs, the music, the dances, as you were just playing there, a song by Sundar Popo. Beautiful music indeed. And that is not really a song that was brought from India, but was locally composed in Trinidad. Yeah, so that is indigenous, I would say, to Trinidad and Tobago.
But the thing is, even though it's indigenous to Trinidad and Tobago, is that we all are able to celebrate our Sundar Popos or whomever else because of the heritage, because of the connection and keeping the culture of what came out of India. So I think there's a lot to be celebrated. We probably wouldn't have had a Sundar Popo if we didn't have the Fatal Razak, you know, that came here and him trying to keep that Indian culture alive through song, through dance.
Yeah, you know when they came, when the East Indians came in during the 72 years of Indianship. It started in 1845 and ended in 1917. And during that 72 years, more than 147,900 East Indians came as indentured immigrants to Trinidad. Others came to Jamaica, to Suriname, to Guyana, to St. Lucia, and to some other parts of the Caribbean, including Guadeloupe and so many other places. But they brought with them their two aspects of what things they brought with them. One was the physical things that they brought in what was called the Jahaji bundle. I'm sure you remember that famous calypso, Jahaji Bhai. And Jahaji Bhai actually refers to friends or family on the ship. You know, you got Bhai is brother, Jahaji meaning ship, so it's really ship brother. So they came and they brought with them the Jahaji bundle, and with that bundle they brought their seeds, they brought their instruments, they brought their implements and things, but they also brought things in the head, things that they brought with them in their mind that they could not bring physically.
Yeah.
So they brought their music, they brought their songs, they brought their cultural things, they brought their way of life. And they, when they left the plantations, they developed what became known as Indian settlement villages around the plantation where they lived. So in those settlements, they developed their cultural patterns, and that is where they began to preserve, or really continued rather, to preserve the way of life as they knew it in India.
Yeah. Well, you know, Dr. Gupta, something, as you're here talking to me as a Jamaican, I can tell you that what I've learned of the East Indian population has been since I've been in Trinidad and Tobago, because even though there are East Indians in Jamaica, what is celebrated throughout the country and what we know are not necessarily East Indian, and the population there is extremely small. What do you think was responsible for the distribution of Indians throughout the Caribbean? Because you'd find Guyana has a good population, Trinidad and Tobago, but not necessarily so Barbados or Jamaica or St. Vincent.
Well, it has to do with the needs of the planters at the time. And one has to recall that the indented immigrants were not just sent from India. Before a shipload left India, they actually had requests from planters in the Caribbean regarding numbers that were required. And when they came, for instance, in Trinidad, when they landed in Trinidad, they actually knew which estates these immigrants were going to. So Palmyra might take 10, or this one might take 15. So they knew before. So the request had to be made before. So one of the things that one has to consider is that with the end of slavery, there were some plantations that needed more labor than others. And perhaps that was one of the reasons why some of the islands did not have or did not request as many Indians as indented immigrants as one would have expected. You know?
Right.
But
all right,
I've been to Jamaica some years ago,
yeah.
and I actually went to an area called Clarendon, where there were a lot of East Indians living there, and I was surprised to see the level to which they had preserved some of their cultural patterns. And may I point out that where in Trinidad we had lost certain things like the horse dance, I saw the horse dance being performed in Clarendon. They call it I think it was the Katgora dance.
Yes.
You
are right. You are right in terms of Clarendon having that. Somehow the East Indian population in Jamaica, a lot of them really are in Clarendon, because I had some East Indian friends, when you wanted the food, they're who you would go to. But like, in terms of just the culture of Jamaica, it's not something you would see on the landscape. That's what I was talking about, like here. Yeah. And I think it has to do with the numbers, like it's a numbers game. In Jamaica, the food is a mixture of everything, but it's considered Jamaican. Here you have the Indian cuisine, you have the African cuisine. In Jamaica, the cuisine is Jamaican, So when I think of whatever the meal might be, I don't think of it according to ethnic lines, but just according to nationality, if you understand what I'm saying.
I see.
Yeah.
Because it has merged more or less into the culture, into the national culture. Whereas in Trinidad, some aspects of it has been preserved as and people can say, well, this is an East Indian dish. I see.
But talk to us, because we are in the heights of the pandemic here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I know that the NCIC would normally have so much for us last year. While I was still at CNC3, we had, while we weren't able to have something physical, we went, I think what they did was to go through all the years and all the recorded events and choose the best to play for a good period of time. What is happening this year? I think they did that for Diwali, not for Indian Arrival Day, but for Diwali. But what's happening this year?
But this year we had a series of programs planned for Indian Arrival Month. Heritage Month, it's called. The NCIC calls it Heritage Month. And the month of May was declared Heritage Month. And we had a series of programs planned, and everything was in place for these programs, but they had to be called off because of the pandemic and the state of emergency that has been declared. Among the programs, that we had in mind was a big program, a live cultural program on the 30th, which is Sunday coming, and that has to be cancelled. We had other programs of Indian classical tribute to the masters, and in this program, we had a series of a lineup of artists who were going to sing the songs of the older Indian classical singers in Trinidad, people like Henry Tulum Dindial, Sam Budram, and some of the other older classical singers who have gone by. And this was supposed to be a tribute to them. And this was supposed to be at last weekend. That had also to be cancelled. But we are not totally cancelling all our programs in that sense, because we are hoping to bring it back sometime later when the pandemic state of emergency clears.
So is it that you all had planned physical events for people to be
these were all
in the pandemic? How comes? How are you all going to manage that?
They were planned to be both physical and virtual at the same time, with a smaller audience and a virtual audience. So that has to be cancelled, and we're hoping that after the state of emergency, some of these programs will still be aired.
Right, right. Well, I hope so too. I know that the population on a whole will definitely benefit from it. So everything canceled for this year. So, how do you commemorate then, Heritage Month? How do you do that
But this year
with
we
all
are
of those
advising
events canceled?
this year we are advising our membership and the national community to follow the protocols, stay at home, and celebrate it the best way that you can. And as you rightly mentioned a while ago, people can, of course, have their dishes, cook their whatever meals they need, but at home, and of course, follow all the protocols. And you can
Yeah.
play as much music as you want on the internet. You can get so much in East Indian music you can get now. You can play it and so on. But we are advising people to follow all the protocols and stay at home. Don't
And I think it's
congregate.
very
Don't.
important,
Yeah,
that you keep underscoring that, because we are seeing the spread. We are seeing people still being
it is.
irresponsible. And regardless of what the event is that we still have to be cognizant of the fact that we are in a pandemic, and spread is not going to say, okay, I'll spread in a party, but I won't spread in a religious event, or I won't spread in a cultural event. You know what I mean? So I'm so
Yeah,
happy that you're reinforcing that message.
yeah.
But talk to us about, I spoke with VJ Mirage earlier, just trying to get a hint of what you're going to be cooking, for Indian Arrival Day. So tell me all about this food that you're going to be preparing. What are some of the dishes that we normally, enjoy on Indian Arrival Day for you?
Well, basically the East Indian dishes are things like aloo and chana. If you know what's aloo, aloo is really
Yeah,
potato.
potato.
In India, they have something a little different, but it's not aloo and chana. It's cooked separately. But in Trinidad, when the East Indians came here, they combined the potato and the chana, and they created a lovely dish called aloo and chana.
Yeah.
I love that. I love my dal puri. Also, I love my sahina and other dishes like that.
Yeah.
So
So
basically,
no meat. No meat.
not really. No, meat is not a big thing for Indian Arrival Day, but there are lots of people. It's not a religious day, so
Okay.
people don't mind that they still cook their meat and so on. For some people, of course, go the way of cooking special things like a curry duck for Indian Arrival. A lot of people in previous
Yeah.
years, we would have gone. Some people went to the river, and they would have a beautiful enjoyment there.
I've had my East Indian line by Cora River, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's not a religious festival. A couple of years ago, there was a group that used to have something called a Choka Fest for Indian Arrival, and they actually had among the chokers that they had about 7 or 8 chokers, but 2 of the chokers were always smoked herring and saltfish, which
Yeah.
again were things that they met down here, and they created a choker out of saltfish, choker out of smoked herring, and also they had their normal breakfast with baigan, which is melongen, baigan,
Yeah.
and other choker like simple aloo. The aloo is boiled and crushed, and put the ingredients in it, and you have a beautiful choka. So there were different types of chokas at that particular. So that's one of the things people have for breakfast: sada roti and choka as a
And
breakfast, and then
I know, like, for these kinds of holidays and celebrations, is that we concentrate a lot on our heritage. So for Indian Arrival Day, we're concentrating on the East Indian heritage. But the thing is, I don't know if you know Jamie Thomas, who passed recently. One of the things that they did from W107, which is Christian, is that we used to have this event named Chow and Choka every year, Chow and Choka, and that was one of the biggest things on the Christian calendar for those from 107.1. So I mention it to show you how, even though there may be different ethnicities and there may be different beliefs, is that when it comes on to culture and heritage, is that there's so much swapping and exchanging and merging, because
yeah.
I'm telling you, Chow and Choka on the 107 calendar was a big deal,
And, and that's the point I was making a while ago. It is not a religious festival.
Yes.
Unlike Diwali and some of the other Hindu festivals, Indian Arrival Day is not a religious festival.
Right.
And but there are people, of course, who will choose to celebrate it in a religious way with pujas or what you call programs at their temples, and this is something that that we encourage people to do wherever they are. But after the temple service or wherever, they are free to celebrate it as they please.
All right, Dr. Gupta, one other thing I want you to explain to me. I'm here in my bling. As Jamaicans, we call it bling, anything that's very shiny. And I never understood why in the East Indian culture there's so much bling. So maybe you can explain it to me. There's a lot of gold, a lot of silver, a lot of, bronze.
A lot of glitter.
Anything, a lot of glitter. So what's the significance behind that?
I don't think there's any particular significance behind it. But if you look at some of the Hindu gods and goddesses, like Mother Lakshmi, or some of the pictures of these Hindu gods and goddesses, they are dressed similarly. There's a lot of color, there's a lot of gold, there's a lot of silver, and so on. But part of it has to go back to Indian films. And I did my PhD on the impact of Indian movies in Trinidad and Tobago. And what I found was that after the first Indian movie came to Trinidad in 1935, and that was a movie called Balajoban. And after that, Indian movies continued to go to be brought here, and it grew. But with the coming of Indian movies, Indian women in particular began to pattern their wear after what they saw in Indian movies.
The movies.
And Indian movies, the Bollywood movies, loved a lot of glitter. There's a lot of glitter, there's a lot of color, and so on. Before that, Indian women in Trinidad and in the Caribbean in particular, they were not known to wear the sari, and they were not known to wear this type of glitter. But after Indian movies came, we saw an increase in that thing. And also, before what you call these trade shows began to arrive in Trinidad in the 1990s, when East Indian women wanted to get ready, married, and even the men, they would travel to India or America or England, and they will purchase these clothing, these particular types of dresses, saris or gararas or whatever they call them. But you were sure to see a lot of color, a lot of glitter in those things. Yeah. Because in a sense, for their weddings, they are the standout. They are the star boys and the star girls on that day.
But I mean, they brought so much of their culture to Trinidad and Tobago. So is it that the dress code in India wasn't like this before that, as you said, before the movies and stuff, they weren't even wearing the saris?
No, when the East Indians came, very few women wore the sari. Even if they wore the sari, it was not glittering. It was just a piece of cloth draped around the body. There was something called a jula, the older time clothing, which was more just to cover the body more or less. Yeah. But there was no sort of glitter when these people came. One has
to remember have to do with what areas of India they're coming from?
Yeah, this is what I'm going. They came from areas such as Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, which were two of the poorest areas in India. Bihar is still one of the poorest areas in India today. So when they came from those areas, and they wore more cotton clothing.
Okay.
Cotton sari or cotton shirt or cotton top and so on, but not any glitter. Not from what the research I've done, and I've also followed the research of people like Professor Samaru and others. And from the pictures I've seen also of the people who came during that time, there were one couldn't find much glitter.
But you know what? I'm thinking, no, Mr. Gupta, Dr. Gupta, it might well be possible that the Trinbagonian East Indian might be more glitterized than the East Indian in India, because really and truly is that, as you said, apart from the fact that the Indians here came from, is that according to the movies, they've definitely upped. And that what we saw in the movies were kind of reserved for the rich, but that's a norm here now.
Actually, I was in India in 2015. And what you're saying has some truth in it. I went to a couple of functions, and I couldn't find many women wearing so much glitter. What happened in Trinidad, though, was that after the oil boom, when people had a little extra money to spend, and with the coming of the trade shows in Trinidad, these apparel, this type of apparel became more prevalent for people. It was cheaper and people were able to buy them. And if you go to an Indian wedding or to a Ramayan, that's a Hindu prayer service in the night, you're going to see the people, even the men and the women, they're all well dressed in their either Shah Rukh Khan outfit or some people actually go to the store when they go to buy, they ask for a Shah Rukh Khan outfit or a Kajol outfit, and the people who are selling it know exactly what they're looking for.
Give them,
because when you say, and they might even call a movie that they saw the outfit in, and they would say, I want this outfit from this particular movie or something close to it. And these traders, they know exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, because when I went to the trade show and told them that I wanted the Diwali outfit, I was showed like stuff with a lot of bling, and I was like, okay, yes, this is looking on point,
Yes.
But Dr. Gupta, we do have to go. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I really want to thank you for joining us this morning and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us.
Okay, so thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here.
Yes. All right, Dr. Primnath Gupta there, Vice Chairman of the NCIC Heritage Center, just talking to us. So the events have been canceled, but you can still, within your own little space, celebrate as you can. But please remember to be careful and to observe all the health protocols. We're going to take a break and we'll be back with you.